Hey everyone, welcome back with me, Jenny, to the Book Cave. So today I have my September wrap up, and I actually did get through quite a few books and mangas this month, so I'm relatively happy with this month compared to the kind of slump that I felt like I'd been in the past couple. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right into what all I read. I finished listening to my first Catherine Center book, and that was The Bodyguard. And I did find this to be pretty funny at times. I will say it's definitely more of a romantic comedy than anything else. There were quite a few bits that, were highly funny and, kind of were meant to be funny. One thing that was definitely more serious was near the very end when a certain situation happens that I'm not going to say because of spoilers. That did try to bring some more seriousness into it, as did the whole thing with Robbie slash Bobby. However, I felt like that one kind of went back and forth on whether it was, meant to be serious or humorous. And my main issue with this is I didn't care for the style of the epilogue. It almost felt like just kind of going down a list, which, the endings did make sense, but just the way it was presented, I felt could have been done a little differently. But overall, I feel like if you like romantic comedies, if you're in the mood for a romantic comedy, actually, honestly, if you're in the mood for something that is relatively clean, this doesn't have any on page described intimacy. It is mentioned that there is, but it doesn't go into description. And that part I did like, because it's kind of nice to have a book that really centers on the character's emotional journey and relies on things other than their physical proximity and physical intimacy to develop that. And I thought that part was done very well. So I do recommend this, just with the caveat that the epilogue I found slightly disappointing. So I listened to my second Catherine Center book, and this was Hello Stranger. I do have to say I enjoyed this a little bit more than The Bodyguard, and I really enjoyed the exploration of face blindness in this, and the way that that can affect people, and the way that medical diagnoses can affect people as well. And I thought this one was actually pretty funny, although I did get a little annoyed with the whole thing with Joe and Oliver. I guessed what was going on from probably about the 50% mark, but I suspected it a lot sooner, and I found myself being like, just say 3 more words, and one of you is going to realize that something's going on and that there's a miscommunication. Although I did like the fact that Sadie did finally call him and tell him, look, this is what's going on. I don't know what happened, but blah, blah, blah. And so then he did listen to that and was able to understand why what happened. And I did really like the fact that they were able to laugh about it in the end. And Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I do feel like it's kind of a light rom-com, but then it does have some harder stuff, with like the medical things going on and the everything going on with the stepmother and the stepsister, and all of that just kind of adds in, but I don't feel like it swamps it in, sadness or anything. So yeah, if you like rom-coms that are, again, relatively clean, there was very little on the page other than kissing, and yeah, so I feel like this is kind of a really good palate cleanser, and something that if you want something that doesn't have much spice but is still a really sweet romance in the end, I do feel like either of these Catherine Center books that I listened to this month would be good for that. So I listened to of Jade and Dragons, and this was a really interesting what they consider silk punk, and I really liked it. And I definitely agree with them saying this is Iron Widow meets Mulan in a way, because Ying has to pretend to be a boy to help her family protect her family. And yeah, I did feel like it dragged at parts in the middle, and like the whole thing was she wanted to figure out what happened to her father. And I do feel like there were parts where that just seemed to be completely forgotten. But then by the end, you did definitely see that. And I feel like it's the last probably 4 or 5 chapters where you get to see why it gets compared to Iron Widow. But I feel like Ying is a much less angry and more likable character than Zetian. But if you did enjoy Iron Widow, then I definitely would recommend picking this up. And if you enjoyed this, I would definitely recommend picking Iron Widow up. And I'm very excited for Heavenly Tyrant to come out. It has a release date of Christmas Eve now. So that's just a little extra thing that I'm excited for. And I hope that you all will read both of those books and this book and its sequels when they come out. The best we could do is a graphic memoir, and it kind of is split into two, in that it covers Three's childhood, and then it also covers her father's early childhood, and then both her father and her mother's adolescence and them becoming parents. And of course, during the times that her parents were born, there was World War II and the Russian-Japanese War, and everybody was trying to basically, fighting over China and Vietnam. And so there was a lot of that explored. And then she was born right around the time the Vietnam War started. So it follows her parents, her older sisters, and herself leaving, although she was just barely old enough to remember. I believe she said she was like 3 or 4 when they left. And yes, it explores kind of being a parent and living through war, and how multiple generations living through war and being displaced, because her mother, although Vietnamese, she actually grew up in Cambodia, and then had to go back to Vietnam. And her mother spoke French mostly because that was kind of what was done then. And so it was very interesting to see all of that explored. But I do wish that it maybe had been a little longer so that we could see more of Thuy and her son, and maybe some about, her sisters and her cousins and all. But I thought this was very well written and very well illustrated, and I definitely recommend it, especially if you liked George Takei's They Called Us Enemy. This kind of feels very similar to that, and it feels like it kind of has a similar style in that although there is the war and the bad things going on, it's seen through the eye of a child, so that it's kind of, you can see how there's still joy no matter what happens. Since finishing Beastars last month, I started Beast Complex, which are short stories set in the world of Beastars. And this first volume, I believe they said the first 4 stories were published before Beastars. And so they're all about 2 characters who are different. And I have to say my favorite 2 were the crocodile and the gazelle, and the fox and the chameleon. So the crocodile and the gazelle is about a cooking show hosted by a crocodile and a gazelle. And that was just kind of fun to see the way they interacted. And then the fox and the chameleon is set in middle school. They are in their last year of middle school, which means they would be in what we in America call the 9th grade. And I just thought the exploration of, being true to yourself and expectations, whether you live up to good or bad ones, was really well done. And then we had Volume 2. And Volume 2, those 6 chapters were all about Legoshi's neighbors in the Beast Complex apartments. And unfortunately, it does leave out Sagwan, and he's one that I really want to know more about, but I believe it says he's in Volume 3. So this one I really liked as well. And we had The Pig and the Peacock was probably my favorite. I just really liked the unexpected turn it took, and just thought that was really cool. Then we have the Shiba Inu and the Shiba Inu, which I thought was just a really cute story about, being yourself. And then we have the Stellar Sea Eagle and the Mongolian Gerbil. I was really interested in what their relationship was after having read about them in Beastars. And unfortunately, this one didn't really show how they met and became friends, which is what I was more looking for. This was more of an afterwards, later on after the series, this is what happened. And while it was still good, it just wasn't quite what I was looking for, but I still did really enjoy it and enjoyed seeing their friendship. So yeah, if you liked Beastars, I think you would like Beast Complex. And if you haven't read Beastars and you don't necessarily want to start in with a series that you're not sure if you would like, I could definitely recommend giving Beast Complex a try, since they are short stories that are really just set in this world and maybe very loosely interconnected, but you can read just one and, not get confused when reading any of the others. So that is everything I read and listened to in September. And thank you all, as always, for watching. And I will have my Bookish Discord linked down below. And of course, if you like this video, hit like button and go ahead and hit subscribe and be notified every time I post a new Bookish video. And I will see you all next time in the Book Cave.